welcome to another ski analysis bite-sized. Today we're going to have a brief look at some short turns, and we have an example of a couple of people doing different types of short turns. Obviously, people's ideals about what a short turn is, and certainly from different associations, how they perceive it as they go through their qualifications, they have different factors that they need to build in the Austrian system. As they work through to their level 2, their anverter is going to look very much different to their level 3 short turn, and then on to the Startliga short turn. And I think in general, what you see a lot in the Austrian system is a more tic-tacky style short turn, because they tend to use longer skis, giant slalom skis, not so much ski like a lot of other associations who fix themselves a lot on slalom skis, and therefore they can certainly use the built-in radius of the ski more. And sometimes you see their short turns can be a little bit more like a medium short or turn.
Yeah, I think the corridor on the screen here, you've got 3 meters wide. I think if it goes outside of that corridor, that for me, like I see on the slide there, says maximum width. I think if you go outside of that, it ceases to be a short radius turn, really. I think it starts to go into that more medium size turn, when the body would start to follow the arc a little bit more, as opposed to remaining down the foreline, having the legs turn against. But yeah, you do see different types of shorts in different associations, and obviously different types of short turns at different levels, but we're not really here to talk about the kind of ski instructor at different associations. We're more just about what we see as a good short turn, and analyze some of our clients doing it as well.
But we do agree that equipment's relevant to the short turn, because depending on the built-in radius 100%. Of the ski, depending on if the ski is well maintained, well serviced, is sharp, depending on if the boots are correctly set up, will have a huge factor in perfecting a short turn. So equipment is a lot to blame.
Equipment, and also athleticism as well. How active the person is, how much that person understands their own body. There's so many criteria that come into perfecting whatever it is in life.
So we got an example of one of Jamie's clients coming down. And you'd already worked a little bit on actually squeezing that corridor a bit, because it was a bit of a medium turn, I think you said.
Yeah, so the guys that we'll see over the next 1 or 2 episodes, these guys have been with the NZ system and New Zealand system, and their corridor that they were presenting, maybe it's the NZ Association don't present it, I'm not sure, was about a 4-meter corridor. And the body was really, really following the arc at the start of the week. It's a little bit lessened now, but still is slightly present. Yeah. Let's just have another look again, see what Paul thinks about it.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody turns up on a ski instructor course, or they come on, a client like this, you're happy to see them, aren't you? Because at least they're coming down with the great control. You know, they've got some rhythm. It's not so stop-starty, etc. But it's almost is a bit like people like this are seeking a missing element. And one of those missing elements would be speed, because it's difficult to get a performance. And when people look and go, why does that short turn look so much better than mine? Sometimes it's just the relevance of a couple of kilometers quicker. Speed has this huge effect on force, and furthermore on something which really this guy's got issues with, which is his ability to create torque. You hear me speak on all our bite-sized and our analysis programs. I keep mentioning torque a lot, and in sport it's very relevant, and especially in this short turn where there's a lot of angular momentum and angular velocity in the turn.
But then if you're wanting to introduce speed into this short turn that he's performing now, if he's got issues at a slower speed, are those issues going to go away when we introduce more speed to it?
No, and definitely Jamie's right. The speed element doesn't want to be added in until somebody sorts out their body management issues, and gets some more understanding of their their proprioception, how they're feeling and what's happening in their inside of their body and their outside of their body. I think on the next slide you show anyway that the direction of travel being the blue arrow, and he's definitely facing.
Yeah, he's come off his
across the hill.
axis slightly. But what I found with this guy is not to mention any names. Like I said, a really nice skier, nice and rhythmical. I'm not sure if he was a level 3 NZ or if he was going for level 3. But he has what I call ski swag, which I actually found all three of these guys who I had this week. When they just bring this little extra nice fluidity of movement with the upper body rotation coming around at the last seconds, he brings the pole plant through. Just the shoulder comes through. And it's going to feel real nice because it's that nice rotary motion. I think any rotary motion feels fluid, feels rhythmical. And that's what we're searching for at the highest level, is having that nice flow state coming down the hill. I think it's just a hard thing to get rid of. And we kind of really shrank it down and minimized it, but it was still present. So for me, it's just a mileage game. It's just like you said, and I think you and Tom said in one of your previous episodes, is building up a bit more of an awareness in the gym off the hill. So then when you're actually on the hill, you know what's going on with your body and you can make really quick changes.
Yeah. And again, we see the usual suspects of what we have talked about on other videos as well, where he's very much in balance and the skis don't really do much edging until way after the fall line. So there's not anything happening above the fall line here. He's definitely pretty much on top of his skis at this stage. And then as he starts to go into the next turn, there's still no edge tilt at this point here. Which means that the skis are obviously going to start to just slide away. And that's going to make him want to rotate in that direction as the skis naturally slide in the opposite direction. And that is, again, there's the edging.
Yeah.
And now we see a huge overflex. And we see what position, as we've described it, is a million times before. Too far forward at the end of the turn and overflexed in the ankle joint at the end of the turn. So if we look on the next episode, we'll be talking about that anyway, where we look at you and how you're stacked up at that point in the turn as well.
Yeah, I think this happens as well. Again, I spoke in an earlier podcast about like bringing skill sets in that are there at a lower level and how they're not really that relevant. So he's really kind of dumping pressure on the ski at the end of the turn, and then that's pushing him back up the hill and inside, if you like. Whereas what I feel when I'm pressurizing my ski is I'm trying to pressurize the ski around the arc. So I'm trying to apply force in the direction that ski, or the path that ski is traveling, as opposed to just pushing down on it.
I think as soon as you get yourself into this position here, where you're very flexed in the ankle and very far forward, then it kills the ski at this stage. So a good short turn, and somebody who's skiing a good short turn, they seem to get that like extra bit. So if you think his turn's finished here, and he then starts to basically, his tips don't cross that red line. Now, a good short turner would sort of, like you said, punch the ski through that red line, punch the ski away from their center of mass, creating some sort of difference between the outside ski and their center of mass, which therefore equates to edge tilt, which he has zero of because he's standing over the top of the ski.
So we did a load of, obviously, exercises on having the ability to remain solid in the body as the legs turn against, whether you want to talk about javelin turns, using them for torque, or just simply, feeling the resistance of him putting his hands out there, me pushing against his hands to create a rotational force, and him resisting against it. So feeling two things going against each other, of his body wanting to rotate while his legs are trying to remain still and stable. And obviously it would be the opposite way around when we're doing a ski turn, a short turn, if the body remains still and stable and the legs rotating against. We did a lot of things like that, and we did so much fore-aft in the ankle joint of push-pulling, and that feeling of really getting those skis to squirt forward at the end of the turn. But this wasn't his best demo. We had seen it previously, but more when we just kind of mass practice, and we did the whole thing all morning.
Yeah. So it's like Jamie says on this still shot. Yeah, you were sort of trying to say, if you showed somebody that picture, they might, and you ask them, what is that? And they might say, oh, that looks to me like he's doing a carving turn, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the next slide brings that one up. But for me, what I was thinking there was you and Tom spoke about the head last time, and you go where you look. So if he's not looking directly down the hill at that time, and he's looking off to the right or the left, the body's likely to follow as well. So the head plays a huge role in sport and where you're going.
Yeah, so it can be that if you pause your run down on your when you're recording yourself and look at yourself and think, could that be a long turn or a medium turn? Then you probably are rotating or allowing the body to relax and not actually to line up properly. Whereas, again, in this demonstration by Jamie, it's not meant to be a high performance demonstration. It's probably like a gear 3 or something. We can see with the arrows, again, how he is able to show that his axis and how everything is stable. And this comes from, I think, the next thing we'd like to discuss in the next video, which will be coming back to torque and how he is able to create torque from the inside and outside half of his body and where in his history that comes from. And it might not necessarily be from skiing all the time. Good, so we will continue this in part 2. Bye for now.
Cheers, guys.